Mark Sanger here at the Chamber's annual luncheon, the awards banquet, and we have someone here with us now that if you've been around NASCAR for any great length of time, infamous,
not famous.
And you know, he probably started out as a little child just standing at the chain link fence.
That's right.
Looking through, and if they even had chain link fence back then. But John Dodson's with us, and John, thanks so much for being with us today. And what do you have going? I hear you're going to do quite a rendition of something. Please share.
Well, you know, when I got up this morning, I thought it was going to be interview Brad Keselowski on stage. We're blessed to have him here today, NASCAR champion. And then I got a text, will you sing the national anthem? So calling audible again.
Which one scares you more?
Well, I wasn't prepared for the national anthem. I had rather them told me about 15 minutes before instead of 2 hours before. But you know what? George Washington's Book of Manners says a man should be able to pray in a moment's notice and sing the national anthem. So
that's great. Now, John, you've been around NASCAR pretty much your whole life, and tell us about that sport right now. In this area that we're in, it's such an integral part of our society and our economy and stuff. And what's the outlook right now? How's it going?
Well, the new car's coming out next year. That's going to be, I think it's going to be a win for the sport. It's going to look more like a manufactured car. You know, what wins on Sunday sells on Monday. Not like it used to, but still it works. It's going to be good for the manufacturers. Unfortunately, it's going to displace a few jobs probably, but we still need people. You know, I'm at NASCAR Tech, and my phone has rung since January 1 as much as it rings every year. So it's not like it's going away. If we got a gallon of gas left on Earth, we will figure out a way to race with it. Yeah.
Can you explain to those of us that don't follow racing why it's going to displace jobs? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's more of a generic car. It'll be a molded body. When I was building race cars, you would shape the fenders and you would weld it and put it all together, and you had templates to go by. But we basically manufacture the car a piece at a time. This is going to be in big pieces, so the chassis are going to be distributed from one place. The engine's still to be determined, but then your bodies will sit right down on the car, made more of Kevlar fiberglass type. So you're not going to need the amount of employees, but you're still going to need them. They still have pit stops. They still go on the road. They still have to come back and rebuild engines and cars. So that part of the industry isn't going away. And the other thing is this manufacturing's coming back big. And Brad here today with his Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing, Roush Yates Manufacturing in Mooresville. A lot of these workers can go right to work for this type of organization. We are diversifying. And we're not just motorsports, even though this is Race City, USA, we're becoming a manufacturing hub. So diversification is important. You can't rely on one thing, and I think it's pretty smart of the race guys to be thinking this way.
Yeah, and so John, over the years, you've seen a lot of things through NASCAR, a lot of changes. Touch real quickly, you mentioned the Kevlar. And why is that important from the safety and why they're doing it, the real reason behind the reason, right?
Well, one thing, it's just easy to manufacture. So you can mold a body like a boat and you can set it down. The other thing is it's hard to manipulate it so teams can't cheat up through. In my day, we could.
A little cheat. We want to cheat. That's what made you guys so good was all the cheating afterwards. You find out what you guys did to get the upper hand.
We
Come
never
on, John.
cheated. We just worked where there was not a rule.
That's right.
So you know, in my day, you could be creative, and I got some stories that are going in my book, but I need a few more people to get out of my way so I can write those stories.
That's the next interview, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But this is going to be like the spec engines that our students build for the K&N series or the ARCA Menard series. They're digitized, so a NASCAR inspector can take a scanner, walk up to an engine, and scan it like a grocery store item, and every part is matched. So they scan every body that goes to the racetrack, every car. They know that how many laps is on the chassis before they get it out of there. So a lot of it's safety, a lot of it's innovation, but it's also a cost. It just costs too much money to run a car. If you notice, very few guys have one sponsor, and when you got to have 4 and 5 sponsors to get through a year of racing, something has to be done. So the team owners are behind it, the drivers are behind it, and then the other thing is, Mr. Penske, Mr. Roger Penske, he's purchased Indianapolis Speedway.
News, yeah.
So I think we might see some more companion races in the future. So, for instance, we might run Michigan, we might run the Indy cars on Saturday and the Cup cars on Sunday, and that will really bring in some race fans. So that could happen. I'm not saying it will, but I think there's some thinking going on there.
Yeah. And real quickly, if you would, talk about the next generation of drivers. I grew up watching Unser and all these great names. All your personal friends probably were my childhood heroes, right? Loving racing. And tell us about this next generation and what's going on there. What are you doing to cultivate that next generation?
Well, it's coming heavy and hard. So you got names like Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney and all these young guns coming into the sport. One thing that it's done is corrected the salaries of the big dogs. But if you're talented, you'll get what you're worth.
Right,
but with these young guys coming in for teams to survive, they're getting probably a 10th to 20% of what the big guys get. Now, if they prove themselves like anyone, you're going to get an extended contract.
That's right.
You know, so there's a lot to do with talent and the new guys. You know. Thank you, Mark.
We don't want to keep you from practicing your
Just
song.
Don't wear out my singing voice. Okay?
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you spending some time with us here today. What advice would you give somebody, because we are at a chamber event, why joining the chamber is so important to this community?
Well, for us at NASCAR Technical Institute, we've been a member of the chamber since 2002 when we opened our doors, and it got us engaged in the community. You know, I remember going to the first business before hours, and I'm like, what? Now, what's this about? You know, and we've networked with people who we can do business with. You know, we have to have our yard maintained and our facility maintained, things like that. But not only that, we want to give back to the community. So it's been a conduit for us to give back and with nonprofits and other organizations. And I've been on that board for 15 years, and I just think it's kind of the glue that holds the community together. This is an amazing chamber of commerce. When you have 535 guests here for a luncheon today, somebody's doing something right.
Thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Joe. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, John.
Yes, sir.